Steve Serio. Welcome back in Germany.
Yeah, Ayaka, thanks for having me. It's always nice to come back to my second home.
Yeah, so now we are in Gießen or somewhere between Gießen and Wetzlar, and you came here for a short visit. So I'm really honored to have you here on my YouTube interview channel. Yeah, I really appreciate that you take some time for me.
Yeah, happy to do it and happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, is there something you like to do always when you're coming back to Germany? Like you return to Wetzlar a few times in your career, so is there something that you always think like, oh, I have to do this or I have to go there?
Yeah, I mean honestly, RSV has been very good to me over the years, and Nick and Andreas, they're very professional, and they have given me a great opportunity to be a great player. But the reason I come back is because of the people. Playing overseas for me is really about the relationships that you build, and getting a chance to come back and see people who are more than friends. They're, my family. They will be in my life forever. That's why I always come back to Gießen and Wetzlar, and I try to come back to see everybody.
When you're back in America, like the last time you went home, what do you miss most at first, and what is like? Oh, I'd like to have this in the USA too.
I don't know if I miss. I don't know if like the U.S. doesn't have everything. I know a lot of players have always said that they wish that there was a professional league
Oh
in the U.S., but we have some great parts of wheelchair basketball, like the collegiate program, and it allows kids to get an education. I just really miss the people. Like being in Europe, it's very different than being in New York City and being in the States. And like I told you before, I really miss the coffee here in Europe. You guys do coffee really well. But I just really miss the people,
Okay.
and building those friendships and building those relationships throughout the years. That's what I really miss.
And what would you like to have from the US in Europe?
What would I like to have in the U.S.? I mean, I think that the European leagues provide a wonderful opportunity for players to come and experience a new culture,
Yeah.
right? Like, not many adaptive sports have professional leagues,
Yeah.
and this is a great opportunity for kids who are just out of college after they get their education to come and learn a new language, meet new people, travel around Europe, and just have those life while experiences that not many other athletes get a chance to do. So I always encourage athletes to, if they have the opportunity to come play, that playing in Europe and getting paid to do what you love is a once in a lifetime experience.
So now you're back in the USA. What are you doing there?
I get that question a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm not currently playing or training right now. I'm taking a little bit of a break after Tokyo. But I'm still working with a number of sponsors. I still work with Team Toyota, and I do a few events with Nike. I have some things coming that I
Huh?
can't share yet, but
Ah.
stay tuned. And I work with, I got into like the public speaking arena. So I work with different companies and help with their diversity, equity, and inclusion throughout their companies. And I get a chance to share my experiences with wheelchair basketball and having a disability, and how that has impacted my life for the better. And hopefully we can inspire the next generation of adaptive sports athletes or people with disabilities to demand more from this life. So much about having a disability is about what you can't do,
Yeah.
but it's up to people that have had some success in this world to inspire those people to demand more, to want more from this life, because the opportunities are endless, and it's just important for us to help the next generation have more than what we had growing up. So that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I want to continue to do. And right now, if I'm taking a break from basketball, then that's a perfect life for me.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing, it's easy to have an impact on the court.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm figuring out what type of impact I can have off the court. Sometimes that's on social media. Sometimes that's making appearances and helping different nonprofits fundraise and sharing my experiences that way. So I'm still trying to figure some things out.
Yeah.
But it's been a wonderful journey and a wonderful exploration about having that impact off the court, and yeah, we'll see where it leads.
What kind of advice would you give a young American player, like maybe playing in the under 23 right now, or in college,
Mhm.
and struggling maybe a little bit of these things, where you go and motivate them?
Yeah, I don't know if it is different for like an American young athlete versus any like a German or
Yeah.
Spanish young athlete or whatever. I always tell kids to like embrace their loss, right? Because a lot of people see the success that me and the team have had recently and just think that that is just happened, right? Because we're very good players. But for me, my first two Paralympics were not so much of a success. We finished fourth in Beijing and won bronze in London, which was not the ultimate goal. But I didn't start out by having success. I started out by losing. I started out by getting my butt kicked. And I started out by growing and growing into a great player one day. So I always tell kids to don't shy away from the hard work. Don't shy away from the loss, because the loss is how you get better. I truly believe that you don't learn anything by winning. You just learn that what you did was what you needed to do. But the game is constantly evolving. The game is constantly growing. There's always new and young, talented athletes coming up. So you need to keep growing and you need to keep exploring your game. So I always tell kids to don't shy away from the loss. Don't be afraid to lose, because in the loss is when you learn the most.
How important was it for you as an athlete to have the right coaches at the right part of your life?
Yeah, it was extremely influential. I was very fortunate to work with some of the best coaches wheelchair basketball has ever had. Obviously, at the University of Illinois, I was coached by Mike Frogley, who's pretty iconic in the sport. And then when I moved to Germany, getting coached by Nick and Janet has been, they made me into the player that I am. And then on the national team side, too, getting coached by Ron Likens the last few years. He's the most winningest wheelchair basketball coach in the world. I think that it's important to take like the best parts of every experience. Every coach is very, very different. And I was at a different point in my life when I was getting coached by these people, but they're all very great at certain things. And as a player, I was always good at taking like the best parts of that relationship and using it to help my game grow, both on the court, but also like as a leader, which is one of the things I was very passionate about getting better at. I have been very lucky, and I've been fortunate to get coached by some really wonderful and talented coaches over the years.
And what would you tell guys who are thinking like, I don't have a good squad, or I don't have a good coach right now, and I deserve more, or I want more, or this doesn't work, kind of? What would you tell those guys?
Yeah, well, the first thing I would say is there's so many resources online. If your team needs help with like different drills that you can do, or different drills that you yourself can do to become a better player individually, there's tons of resources online. And the wheelchair basketball community is so small that you can pretty much reach out to anybody, and that they'll help with whatever questions that you have. But for the team, winning at basketball is not only about talent. If I'm a big like basketball history guy, and Bill Simmons came out with a really good basketball book, and he says in that book that the secret of basketball is that it's not about basketball, it's about relationships. Because in wheelchair basketball, you can't win with just one player. You can't win with just one talented person. It has to be a team. And that team has to know how to fight for each other. They have to know how to lose and win together. They have to learn how to grow together. So to be a great basketball team, it's not just about talent. It's about relationships. And it's about building a team and a community that wants to be together. So that's what I would say. Like, if you don't have the most talented team, that's okay. You don't have to have only talent. You have to build those relationships, and you have to build those friendships to be a great team.
What kind of character do you have, or would you say you have, which helped you a lot to be a great athlete?
Wow, that's a good question. I think that I am somebody who doesn't like to lose, but I am somebody who's I've always been great at turning that loss into something positive. So, like when I started out on my Team USA career, we were not so successful, but I was able to use those losses as a way to motivate myself to just always, always get better. And the one thing that I've worked on even to this day is leadership. I think leadership is something that is overlooked a lot, and just because you're a talented player doesn't mean that you're a good leader. So over the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, I've really worked on how do I communicate with different people, how I motivate different people, because like some people you need to yell at, but some people you need to like put your arm around and be a little bit more of a friend when you're giving them feedback. So that leadership component is so important, and it's one of the most rewarding parts of being a Team USA athlete is growing in that leadership role. So those are some ways that I felt like I've contributed to the team. But honestly, it just comes down to a lot of hard work, a lot of time and sacrifice, and just never stopping before I got to the goal that I wanted to get to.
Well, let's have some fun questions.
Okay, sure.
Okay, let's start with who's your favorite player with the same classification?
Okay, well, this is going to sound a little bit boring, but my first hero of the sport, the guy I looked up to from the very beginning, was Matt Scott. He was a little bit older than me, but he was the man in the junior division when I first started, and me and him have been teammates for 2 decades, and he's somebody who can do things that I can't do, and I've always just looked up to how great of a teammate he is. He's just a wonderful, wonderful person, and just somebody who everybody wants to be around. So he's like my favorite other 3-5. I know that's a little bit boring because we're on Team USA athletes, but yeah, he's my favorite 3-5.
You have another 3-5 non-American guy?
I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not great at other people's classifications.
Okay, then without classification.
Well, like the guy who I always thought that was going to be like the next 3 or 3-5 was Phil from GB. He's just a wonderful kid, a wonderful teammate, and getting a chance to see him grow on the court the last couple of years and playing in Spain has been really awesome. So I know that he's going to be one of the best 3-5s in the world if he's not already.
Okay. And who would you choose if you would do kind of world tour, kind of holiday? With who would you go?
That's a good question. Like, who haven't I played with that I
don't care about that. Like, with who might it be fun?
That's a good question. I mean, so much of my life is basketball. When I take a holiday, I don't want to do anything with basketball. But I would say like the couple of people that I haven't played with yet are like the Australians. Like I would love to play with Sean. We just never had the chance to play in Europe the same time, and I heard that he's coming back to Germany, so that's awesome. And playing in Hamburg, it's one of my favorite cities.
Hanover.
Oh, in Hanover. So getting a chance to play with him would be awesome.
He stays for 2 seasons, so you can join next season maybe.
All right, we can talk about that later. And then like some of like the great players of all time, like from the previous generation, like the Dave Kileys, or playing professionally with like a Paul Schulte would be really great. But yeah, those are the guys that I haven't had a chance to play with professionally that I would love to.
But just going on holiday and having fun, kind of.
I mean, that's for like my family.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's fun to travel with the basketball friends. But that's like work life. If I want to take a holiday, I'm going to go with my family.
Okay. Do you still have something what you would like to drop on my YouTube channel at the end?
I guess I would just like to say thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Wheelchair basketball is a very inclusive wheelchair sport, and we need more people like you who understand the history, who like bring everybody together, because it's hard for us to watch all the games throughout the world. And it's just nice to get a chance to like give back to the community in a way that is different than playing, you know. So I think that what you're doing is awesome. What you're doing on YouTube and Instagram and everywhere is so cool. And yeah, just thank you for spreading the awareness.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really appreciate to have to get this time with you, just having a few days in Germany, and yeah.
Yeah, happy to do it. Happy to talk with you, and yeah, thanks again.
Yeah, see you again soon. Hopefully, maybe
sure.
next year against Sean Norris. in Germany.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Oh, you have to go to Australia for the short season.
Yeah, that's one place I've never played. I've never played the
okay.
professional league in Australia, and that's like a dream of mine to go to Australia and play. So maybe that's somewhere down the road.
Ah, okay. I think some of the Australian people will watch the interview and maybe reach out to you. They should.
That would be cool. I would love to do it.
Okay, so thank you so much, Steve, and have a nice rest time in Germany and a safe flight back.
Yeah, thank you very much.